bunch of losers sweating God on the worst.
Welcome back to the Woodsman Podcast. We're your hosts, Brent Murphy
and Joey Rucker.
And man, with all the recent disclosure that has been going on in 2023 and most likely more to come in 2024, I've begun to wonder about the rather skeptical questions that come with the insane world of UAP and alien phenomena. Like, if all these things have all this technology, then how have we not seen them yet? Have they always been here, or have they traveled light years away? Or why haven't they made themselves known on a wide scale? If you believe in the physical theory of alien reality, then you may find yourself asking these questions and most likely even more. Trust me, you're not alone. In fact, in the 1950s, a man by the name of Enrico Fermi asked the same question. This would lead to a lifelong rabbit hole of a question that we are still going down to this very day. If life beyond our planet is so easy, then where is everybody? Let's dive in. Well, man, another episode, another day, another dollar.
We're here.
It's been a minute. We say that every time, but really, it's only been approximately 7 days.
Yeah, but we've been doing it for a while, so I'm sticking by the day a dollar thing.
Every minute's feeling a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Well, man, I don't think we have too much housekeeping to bring up today, but we do have one big one, and a pretty exciting one, at least for me. As of now, every single episode of the Woodsman Podcast should be out in order on all platforms.
Yep. Dude, I'm very excited about it too. It was annoying that we had that technical difficulty that we discussed on the previous episode, whichever one that was, but I'm happy that we're finally gonna, fix that issue and officially, we can now, say on every video we make or every pod that we make, you can find us everywhere.
And in order, and just right.
That was the main thing. I don't know if we ever mentioned exactly what the technical difficulty was, but it was just pretty much that everything was out of order on the platforms.
Well, we had tried to be smart. Remember, we were like, well, if we uploaded by the first episodes, it probably is going to come out like they're the most recent.
Yeah.
So we were like, if we go backwards, maybe that'll fix it.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem is, it fixed it, but it made all of the recent episodes the oldest episodes.
Yeah.
And all of the oldest episodes the recent episodes. And so when we posted the What in the Spaceship episode, that one showed up as the newest, with the episode after being a Woodsman Christmas. So
it just didn't work. And
it just didn't work out. So, we goofed up, but hey, this is part of the learning curve of running a podcast for the first time.
Yeah,
and,
listen, we promised you that we would get all the episodes out on all platforms.
And by golly, we did it.
That's important is that, we're doing it.
Yeah,
so
we did it. So I hope you guys enjoy the podcast on all platforms.
Yes. Let us know if you do listen on any other platform. Please, whether it be through our email or through any kind of comment section you could find, just let us know. We'll be checking everything out, and we'd love to hear feedback on where you're listening on, what you prefer.
Also, let us know where you're listening.
Exactly.
I want to know, if we have listeners not in the U.S., that would be insane
cool.
to me. Because why are you guys listening to us? There's so much more smarter people out there than we.
Did you, a little off topic, but still about the pod, did you know that we just hit over 500 views on the channel?
Really?
So the channel has been viewed, people have come to our channel over 500 times now, officially.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dude, that's insane for the little amount of promotion we have done.
Yeah, I know.
On everything.
It's cool. It's really cool.
That's a cool milestone. You know what?
Yeah.
Cheers to us. You know what? Let's add a little clink right there. Right now. All right. Cool.
I did want to bring something to the table. I've been doing this thing where I give you a little tiny news tidbit. For the last couple
better be about
weeks.
AI.
It's not, but it does have to do with specifically our generation, and it's just something that's come recently that is pretty big. Basically, there's this new documentary that just came out on Max. Have you heard of this?
The one about all the Nickelodeon. Did you see?
I watched it. I watched the whole thing.
Wow.
I don't know if it's really worth getting into all the details.
Please don't, because I haven't watched it yet. I mean, I know roughly some of the crazy stuff. Also, the one spoiler I will mention on it: how crazy is it that Brian Peck had letters from John Wayne
Dude.
Gacy?
Wild stuff. And okay, we have to explain what this
what?
documentary is for the viewers or listeners.
Yes. So, like in layman's terms, in like one sentence, explain.
Well, the
what
title
it
gives
is.
it away enough. The title of the documentary is The Dark Side of Kids TV.
There we go. That'll
And,
do it.
Yeah, it pretty
That'll
much
do
it just goes into a big in-depth conversation about how the upbringing from the late 1980s to the
Like all that.
mid 2000s,
Like,
all
starting
of
from all of that.
all that was kind of where it all started. And
Well, I feel like it really started with Jeanette McCurdy releasing her book.
Jeanette McCurdy is what I think sparked the beginning of like actually talking about
Like,
this
oh,
stuff.
some weird stuff was happening,
Mhm.
which I had a feeling that maybe a lot of people thought that some out of pocket and odd things were happening, but no one really knew
Yeah.
until
Yeah.
until like Carly got rebooted. Honestly,
Mhm.
like that's really I think what kind of sparked this whole thing. Because
Yeah, and Jeanette
before
never
then,
came
I
back.
think everyone was like, "All right, I guess we'll just let it go," but they just had to rehash some more stuff, and now it's a big old thing.
Yeah.
So
So I definitely suggest watching it if any of you grew up on Nickelodeon Kids TV,
Yeah.
growing up in 80s to 2000s.
yeah.
It really,
Especially for any of those like primary like Drake and Josh fans,
Mhm.
iCarly, like
Yeah.
all that. Especially, I don't know if you were really an all that kid,
I wasn't,
but I was because I was a Nickelodeon
Really?
kid. Because you were
Yeah.
a Disney kid, but I was a Nickelodeon kid,
yeah,
and that was one of the first like real Nickelodeon shows that was like live. Like people
yeah,
that
yeah.
weren't like cartoons and all that kind
Mhm,
of stuff.
mhm.
It was probably one of the first shows I had ever watched that was really, like, oh man, a stereotypical chuckle after school,
Yeah, yeah.
So I mean, it's really crazy just where all these child stars are, what has happened with them,
Yeah.
and
And
just
it really brings to light like how it wasn't such a,
it wasn't such a dream come true being a child actor.
yeah.
you know.
So definitely check it out if you're interested in that kind of topic. That was just pretty much what I wanted to bring to the table, something that's going on in media right now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's crazy, man. I don't really have anything else, so I mean,
But yeah.
I think it's time to fly straight into this topic head first, and maybe try not to break our necks on the way. So
Do my best.
let's go.
So, getting right into it, the Fermi paradox. I have to admit, when you gave me this idea for a topic, I had no idea what you were talking about because you texted me at work and I was just like, I don't know what this is. I'll look at it later.
I know. I
And-
don't even think you responded. I think I just was like, "All right, this is what we're doing."
Yeah,
and just
yeah.
started the outline.
But when I did look into it, from some of the stuff I was reading about it, it does seem pretty interesting. I would love for you to like maybe tell me a little bit more about it. Give us a little bit of details. Let the audience know what we're discussing.
Yeah, of course, bro. Well, I mean, we've already done our alien episode.
Mm-hmm.
We had another alien episode that never aired.
Yep.
So we've talked quite a bit about aliens, right?
Yeah.
So
Jesus is an alien, of course.
yeah,
as we
of
discussed.
course. As Secrets of the Saucers has
Mhm,
put
mhm.
it lightly.
And if you
Well-
ever see an orb in the sky, just
Yeah.
don't go
Don't
towards it. Yeah.
don't stop. Just keep driving,
going.
please, for the love of God. Do not stop at a cross intersection because apparently that's where this stuff happens.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
So I don't know, man. But I mean, I guess to kind of reel it in, the Fermi paradox is basically the question of where is everybody?
Mm.
That's pretty much all it is, man. Because where's all the life? Where if we somehow can believe in aliens,
Yeah.
where is it at? Right? That's the age old question.
I have a thing I wanted to bring up about that question specifically. I'm going to save it for later. I just want you to know that the first time I heard that terminology, when I looked into the Fermi paradox, I thought of one specific thing, and I want to discuss that. But I do want to get more into like the basis of it first.
Okay.
So I'm gonna
Yeah,
bring something up
yeah.
a little later.
Yeah, of course. So it's named after a physicist. His name is Enrico Fermi, obviously, who wondered why, with the billions of stars all throughout the universe, why we haven't found any clear evidence of any extraterrestrial life yet. So,
Do you know when about this time this was? Like what year ish?
well,
Or no?
I guess if we're gonna go into that, he was born in 1901 in Rome.
Okay. Okay.
and he would later move to the United States. If I'm going to give a time frame, he actually played a key role in the development of the atomic bomb in World War II.
Mm.
So Oppenheimer, I have not seen the film,
Neither have I.
but he could quite possibly be in it because
That's-
he is a very
That's a good point.
yeah.
I wonder if he is.
I mean, he was a very big contributor apparently to World War II, and I did not realize honestly until I started digging into this that I was like, oh dang, I did not realize he was smart. Like he's a smart guy.
He's a
Like-
smart man.
Like he is a smart man, and I think you even have notes about him and some of his achievements as well.
Yeah, like you said, he was part of the development of the atomic bomb during World War II, part of the Manhattan Project specifically. He also made a lot of really important discoveries in particle physics, which is wild. That's like that really kind of shows you.
I still don't even know what that is.
I'm not super acquainted.
I read the definition and I was like, yeah,
This is too much for me.
You got to be smart
Yeah.
to know that. So
Yeah, but no, he really did make a lot of achievements with all these like theories and speculations and studies. He was actually awarded the Nobel Prize in Physics in 1938. So,
Wild.
and actually that makes sense because I thought I remembered reading that some of when he came up with what we're talking about, the Fermi paradox, was around the 1940s, if I'm correct. I was at least pretty sure. But yeah, his work had a really profound impact on pretty much our entire understanding of atoms in the universe, which is nuts.
wild.
Yeah.
And I mean that even goes down to back to all the theories we were talking about. Is anything even real?
Mhm.
You know, just in our last episode, I mean, you go back to the shrunken theory, like are we just, really, really small?
It is a
like,
good point.
are we
if
just
we were all in a simulation, isn't it kind of weird to think that everything is made of atoms and
yeah.
then it's all
And that the atomic shape is the same type of shape and structure as
yeah, it's weird, right? And I mean that probably just
everything
goes into
fits
it
in
not,
line.
not being a
as
simulation.
above, so below.
As above, so below. You're right. Yeah, Man, it's crazy, dude.
I mean, that even goes into the firmament too. If you're a flat Earth believer too, as above, so below. the
Oh,
waters
man.
in the heavens.
Write that one
the
down
water-
too later.
The
Later,
flat
Woodsman.
Earth-
We
flat
gotta do
Earth theory.
AI, and now we gotta do flat Earth theory.
Oh man, I can't wait for that one. Me and Joey are gonna. That's
That
probably
might
gonna
be
be the first episode
the
where me and
first one
Joey
where we
stop
start
talking.
getting mad at each other, and it's like, dude.
as chat doesn't know, I'm more open to flat Earth than one
Welcome
could
to the
believe.
Woodsman podcast. Have you seen the what's it called? The Truman Show.
The Truman Show. Everything's a lie. Well, I mean, yeah. So to sum it all up, this man was smart.
Yeah.
This man knew a thing or two about a thing or two.
Mm-hmm.
And he also, which, I mean, when you think about it, let's just say 38, right? He got the Nobel Peace Prize in 1938. So we're going to assume he probably came up with this theory or paradox, better known, around that time.
Mhm.
So let's give him late 30s to maybe late 40s, right?
Yeah.
Of thinking
Sure.
of that, right? So no joke, man is a physicist. He obviously knows about particle physics. He, worked on the Manhattan Project. He was not closed-minded to this subject at all. He was very much a man of science, was a man who looked around and thought well, where's all the data?
Mhm.
As like-minded smart people,
As what
If-
you would expect a scientist to ask,
right?
Yeah.
If we are going to say that these things don't exist, well, then where's the data to back that up, right? He found out that there was none. There was no data to back this up. No scientist had ever thought of recording anything having to do with, the expansion of the universe and what the probability of life
Mhm.
would be
Yeah.
to then find us. So then that just opens a whole other can of worms, which will lead into some of the theories that go into this and why we could or couldn't possibly either see some of these extraterrestrials, whether or not if if you even believe the extraterrestrials are a physical thing and not a spiritual thing. I know we've talked about that many times, and through some of our stories, we have seen a little bit more of the spiritual side rather than the physical side. But
that's also pretty much like the basis of the Fermi paradox itself, right? Is that if there are aliens, if we're gonna do all this research and scientific study about extraterrestrial life, then where is all of the proof of it? Like, why haven't they come down? Why hasn't there been a spectacle yet?
exactly,
You know, like it doesn't make a lot of sense that we can be so almost sure with the expansion of the universe and how big it expands.
yeah,
All these different galaxies out there. I mean, I read, what was it? I read that there were, I believe, 70 sextillion stars, I believe, in the entire universe, or at least proposed universe.
yeah,
And that there were like a few 100,000 galaxies or something like that. Like it was a wild number for both. And it's just that if there's all this expansion, and that was the main thing I read specifically, was that our galaxy, the Milky Way galaxy specifically, from scientific research at least, is quite younger than a lot more galaxies out there. Like a lot more galaxies have been around seemingly for a much longer period of time. And so if that's the case, and we're getting so closer and closer with our advancements in technology to having space travel, there's a better word for that, but to have space travel seemingly possible in the next couple decades, then these other galaxies that have been around for a much longer amount of time, how have they not made themselves known to us yet?
yeah.
Isn't that kind of like the main...
Basically.
Yeah.
And so some of the answers to like those questions, obviously there are several theories that attempt to kind of explain the Fermi paradox, like in general.
Mm-hmm.
One, advanced civilizations might have self-destructive tendencies. So think of, and I guess that would kind of coincide with some other theories as well, being, you know, if they are smart like us, right? If they do have some cognitive intellect, right? Who's to say they're any better than us as far as getting along, or you know, we always expect extraterrestrials to be better than us.
That's actually half of what I was going to bring up later. So we can talk about that for a second if you want.
Yeah,
because I'm kind of in the same mindset. I've always thought, well, if you're going to question why haven't we had more sightings and things like that, why do we always constantly think of aliens as this like higher being? Like, yes, the idea that these galaxies could be a lot older and that they could have a lot more time to advance is fine, but like, that doesn't really make me believe that aliens would be so much more advanced. And even if they were, why they would give a crap to come out here, you know?
Ultimately, yeah.
That doesn't make sense to me, dude.
And I mean, and if you're going to think of it like that, that's also thinking that they are physical things or beings. I mean, you don't know what an alien is.
Yeah.
You don't even know what a UFO or UAP is. Like, you know, we don't know.
It's in the name, unidentified flying object.
It's
you don't
unidentified.
You don't know what it is.
You don't know what it is. And I think so many people, I guess, trying to put a cap on it as far as like, oh, yep, it's definitely another civilization coming from another Milky Way galaxy out there, you know, come to check in and spy on us. Like, we don't know that because we don't even know what we're dealing with, period.
Yeah.
So that would also lead into the second, I guess, answer to the question. They exist, but we just haven't detected their signals yet. That could also be another theory.
It's true.
So, I mean, like...
It's a big universe.
I'm trying to think, if you think in terms of light years and everything, think of how much longer it would take to receive signals. You know, it's not like sending a text and like within
what does it take?
0.2 seconds.
8 years for the sun. Is it years or is it minutes?
You're asking
I think it's minutes. I believe it's like 8 minutes for light from the sun to hit our world. Because
Sounds
like,
about
there's
accurate.
that statistic where like if the sun just gone. And
Yeah.
we wouldn't know. We
You
wouldn't
wouldn't
know
know.
for like 10 minutes and then eventually just snuffed out and we freeze to death. But
Well, it's like the equivalent to
the sun is relatively close.
turning
That's
a
the thing.
flashlight on and off real fast. You have that brief moment in between on and off
Mm-hmm.
where there's fade.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what's happening between there?
And to think that they could be very far out in this galaxy, like, or this universe, it makes a lot of sense why, if they have sent us signals,
Yeah.
we just haven't
Well, I
gotten them
mean,
yet.
it would be the equivalent to think about all the weird stuff. And I believe we were just talking about this on the alien episode, but there are cases where you get these weird, I guess, experiences that people have with these other, what they believe aliens and all this kind of stuff, where they're wearing the wrong clothes or they're talking very weird or
Mhm.
they don't have the right words for the right things. Like, I'll never forget a Black Eyed Kids story that I had heard of. And they came up to this guy and he was taking groceries out of his car and he was walking up to his front door and these two kids show up and they're like, hey,
Oh, yes.
can I have some of that? You know, like, but like weird,
Mhm.
you know, and he's like, something is off about these kids. And they just say, come on, mister, it's food time.
Dude,
And you're just like,
that's the
what?
moment I'm like out of there. Me personally, it's like,
food time? What does that even mean?
You're either
Like, what is
stupid or you're
food
an
time?
alien.
Like,
Yeah.
And then you have other stories where, you know, same thing just happens to be like Black Eyed Kids type
Mhm.
of situation. They ask like, you know, can I use your telegraph? And you're like, there is no telegraph. What?
Yeah, yeah.
What are you even talking about? You know, like, so maybe they're getting our signals way later.
Maybe.
Like, it's taking a lot of time for them to get radio wave signals from here, and they could be really far away. And by the time they get back, they're out here disguising themselves in like 1940s, 1950s wear,
Yeah.
but it's 2024. You know?
No, I mean that's
So it's
true. I didn't
like,
think about it like that.
You know, you can have all these weird happenstance occurrences, but maybe that can also explain quite a bit of it,
It
you know,
could,
if you really
yeah.
think about it. So going back to more answers to the theory, there's one more here that I have written down, and it is some theories suggest that aliens might be in a different phase of development or prefer to remain hidden,
Mm.
which would be absolutely terrifying. When you think of Alien versus Predator, you think of the little cloaking. Are they just cloaked in the skies and we don't know?
Well, it also that makes me kind of go back to.
Or are they in the ocean?
Well, oof. Dude, another episode, Ocean.
This should just be like our biggest fears, man,
Yeah.
honestly, because, yeah.
No, but it kind of goes back, like saying that they want to remain hidden. It kind of goes to the idea that I was just talking about. How why would they need or want to come and see us and make themselves known? Because me as a human personally, I have no need in my mind and my soul to have to go out to the stars and find another world.
Yeah, I'm
Like,
all right.
It's cool. The idea is cool, but the execution, I just don't care about. I just genuinely don't. It's not even that it's
It's just not something that interests you.
yeah, and you got to think why if we're going to sit here and believe that these either physical and or non-physical creatures out in our stars out there somewhere have a similar, thinking process as us of wanting to explore, find, learn. There's got to be a lot of them there too that just don't want to be seen. That they don't. I don't know if we had the technology to go find other alien worlds that I would want to make myself known, because we don't know what those worlds have. We don't know.
Well, no, it's just like think in Star Wars terms. Do you go on another planet and you make yourselves big and known to everybody, not knowing what these people are
Yeah,
gonna do?
you have no idea what's going on.
If they've been here since, say, well, I don't know, the 40s, the 50s. We'll think of Orfeo Angelucci. That happened in the 50s. He claims that his experience happened in the 50s. I mean, he got the Nobel Peace Prize in 38. Fermi did. So, I mean, that's not that far off.
Yeah.
And you think if they've been around that long, how long is that? 50, 60, 70? That's 70 plus years since the 50s.
Yeah.
Y'all don't think the aliens would be a little scared to come down here, not seeing how bad we treat each other?
I was just going to say that. I was just going to say, like, we treat each other like crap. Like, our world, we talk about it in literally almost every Woodsman episode.
Every episode,
that the
dude.
world is just hateful and that we need more love. Like, straight up. And so if
think of the message. They came down to Orfeo and they went, "Hey, bro, from your space brothers, y'all should probably stop messing up this hard because you are going to destroy yourselves." And then what do? We start more wars. And then it's
Same
like,
with the
well, all right,
kids
I
in-
wouldn't want to come down here. I'd be like, all right, I gave you guys how many warnings? I'm good. I'm just
Same with the kids in like Zimbabwe or whatever it was, where they were like,
Yeah.
your technology is getting so advanced that it's going to be your entire downfall. Same
You
with
guys
the
are
guy-
advancing at too high of a rate. You need to stop while you can.
Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense. Going into the second half of what I was going to say about this whole thing, and this is like a personal thing for me, and to be fair, I acknowledge that this paradox or theory was sort of first made around the 1940s, and so we've definitely developed new advancements and discoveries have been made since then. But like nowadays, I don't know if the Fermi paradox holds up, because aren't we sort of living in a world where, at least quote unquote, they're claiming that aliens are here now? Like,
I mean, we're living in disclosure.
what do you mean by that?
I mean, we're living in a era where people, I would say people like us, but we're not doing much for society to further the advancement of alien knowledge being brought forth to the public. But
True, but
it
we
is
just had that
people
big
who
thing.
it is people who are stepping up and going out and, pushing the boundaries and going and testifying and saying, hey, what the hell?
Yeah, all these pilots and all
Like,
these
what-
people for years saying that they've had these experiences. and-
You have these people who have been told to stay quiet for how long
Mhm.
about projects that the public has a right to know.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I'm sorry. I don't care what anyone has to say. Everybody has a right to know what's going on.
Yeah, on a planetary level, if it affects the
knows what's
world,
going on, we should probably know what's going on.
maybe just a little bit. Yeah.
Just a little bit, because
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I don't have faith in our government to.
Period.
Well, yeah, that's about it. I was gonna say I don't have faith in them to keep me safe against aliens, but I don't have faith in them to keep me safe against police. So I don't,
Yeah.
not to be that guy, but I mean, if we're going into the loving and hating each other, I mean, just that right there is a topic of hate in general. You know,
Sure.
it's crazy how anybody could think that aliens would be in the wrong for not telling us that they're here. I mean,
Yeah.
I wouldn't.
No, I think it
I
would
would
make a lot
not.
of sense. It is strange to me sometimes, but this is sort of off topic, that a lot of alien encounters have very positive messages. That seems a bit weird to me, because if I'm supposed to ask the question, well, if we're supposed to believe that they have a similar-ish idealism of how life works and knowledge and learning, that they can choose whether or not they want to make themselves known, then they could also, in that regard, choose whether or not they wanted to be hostile or whatever the opposite of hostile is.
Well,
And most of the stories, they're not exactly hostile. In movies
the
and
ones
media,
that you've read,
is there a lot
There's
of
a-
encounters
there's a
that are
difference-
still like...
there's a difference between an encounter and an abduction.
That's true.
An
So
encounter
are-
experience is a pleasant experience. An abduction experience is you're getting abducted
No,
against
that's a
your
good
will.
point. That's a good point.
I mean, there are a lot. And I would say most of the older ones, like 40s, 50s, maybe 60s, were majority pleasant experiences. I mean, you have people like Truman Bethurham. You have people like Orfeo Angelucci.
You're so good
you
at
know,
remembering these names.
It's because
I've been trying for the last 5 to 7 minutes to remember the guy from my
Dude,
my
you
story.
couldn't even remember that.
I still
like-
can't think of his name, and it pisses me
Can't
off.
even remember that from the last episode.
And I was really interested. I'm still debating on buying his book. Like,
Well, you should probably remember his name
if I'm gonna
first.
buy the book,
Probably. Maybe you should remember at least the name of the book.
Probably. I know it. It's UFOs of God. I know that. It's just that I don't know his name.
But I mean, you have people like those, and those were majority like 50s type, and a lot of those were pleasant experiences, and a lot of those were hey, your fellow man has been messing up, and it's time for them to, I guess, awaken, so to speak, and get their acts together and figure it out,
Yeah.
But you have people like man, the name blanked on me, but he wrote a book called Communion. Whitley Strieber, that's his name. And I believe his experience happened in the 80s, and his is completely opposite. I mean, he went through hypnotic regression and all this kind of stuff, and found out that he was having stuff happen to him from like childhood type, and that this has just been, his memory being repressed for years until this one most current experience happened to him. And then he went and totally found out that he's been going through a lot of crazy stuff, man. And, his experience was quite literally terrifying. I mean, I would love to pick up his book and see how that goes. I've watched the movie. The movie is very weird, but I mean, from what you could expect, it's Christopher Walken playing Whitley Strieber. So, odd bird to begin with, but it is interesting. So there's not just all these pleasant experiences, and there's not all of these just pleasant messages. There are some pretty interesting
I
and
didn't want it
scary
to come
things.
across as I thought all of them were positive. It just seems like most of the stories that I've heard in recent time, that they've been positive. You make a good point with the abductions.
Well, I mean, even like with
that.
Terry Lovelace, I mean, we've listened to a little bit of his story and stuff like that, and I mean, his is
name
wild.
after name after name.
That's right, name dropping, buddy.
You just
name
know this
dropping.
stuff.
That's right.
I'm not surprised. You've always been into aliens.
I have, man. What what's crazy? I've been into aliens probably since elementary school. I mean, probably since I first met you, I've been into aliens.
Yeah, when you got that book about the alien or whatever. What was his name?
Yeah,
Paul or something? What was his name? Didn't he have
Jomny the alien?
Jomny.
Yep. Want to know something funny? I mean, it's really random. Did you know that Ashley has that book?
Does she really?
And she had that, like, I had mentioned the book, and she was like, yeah, Jomny the alien. I have it right here. And she took it out of her bookshelf, and she had it.
Dude.
Wild.
Match made in heaven.
That's right, man. That's right.
Good for you.
But I mean, it is wild. I mean, the whole topic of aliens is just very insane.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, this theory is just insane to begin with.
It's sort of another philosophical question in a way. It's more scientifically grounded, but it's more of just like, hey, if this is this way, then why haven't we seen any evidence? Like stuff like that. And it's unlike, what did we just talk about on the pod? Oh, the simulation theory?
Yeah.
Unlike that, where you have to kind of believe something to believe something.
This is just
more like, this is what we're all saying is happening, but where is the conclusive
It's even
data?
more like just a statistic, or even like a ratio. Like, okay, what's the ratio of there just being any life, period, on any planet, regardless of what you believe or not? If the universe is ever expanding, what are the chances and what's the possibility of there just being life from somewhere else,
Yeah.
Well, all right, man. We got a couple questions here. And this was a Chillcast, but we're running longer than I think we thought we were going to, but this has been a pretty solid episode, so I'm down to keep diving in.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
I enjoy it.
So, first question I got here for you. See, you wrote all the questions the last time, but came up with some pretty fire ones. First of all, do you even believe that aliens are physical? Or do you believe that they are, do you believe that they're physical beings from another planet? Or do you believe that they possibly could have more of a spiritual, possibly dimensional side to them?
So my main way of thinking about aliens, I guess, is mainly that they are a physical entity of some kind. Um, that is to say, though, that I am becoming a lot more open to the idea, especially as we do this pod, of different supernatural and non-physical origins of things. So I could see how like they could be more of a time displacement or just something that we just don't quite understand yet because we just don't have the physical capabilities of understanding it. But I do think that likely what I would say an alien is in that regard is still somewhat of a physical being overall. It's hard, even if it's still alien in nature, but not in being out of this world. You know, like how we talked about, oh, do they come from the ocean? Well,
Yeah.
as far as we know, there are things we just don't know about things that are alive, you know? And so I don't, it's hard for me to fully come down with the concept of these being something non physical. It's tough though, because at the same time, kind of like the Fermi paradox has talked about, we also haven't found a lot of conclusive data on there being physical bodies, you know?
Unless we have,
And we just don't.
and we just don't know.
Yeah, this is true. It's just, I don't
And
know.
that's the problem we're having right now. That's the problem we're having with the government and just not knowing, basics of that. I mean, think of how much data you could collect if you just had the accurate data in general
Yeah.
to start with. You're starting with nothing
Yeah, and I don't know. It's just
from a
really,
government that claims that they have technology from
yeah.
whatever.
But to the uh to the normal everyday person, we just don't know because it is kept from us. Something is kept from us. That's not like really in debate. We know that we're not getting
Yeah.
all the information about
Whether or not
everything.
we know what it is,
Yeah.
I don't know.
So
But there's
it's
definitely
fair
something.
to say that, and so it's kind of like, and that's kind of why I actually wanted to ask you this as well as I'll answer too. But about, do you believe someone that had such a strong scientific mind, such as Fermi had, do you think he could believe in life coming from far beyond our own world? Like, because if we're kind of living in a world where, one, we know for a fact things are being kept from us, but two, even if they weren't kept from us, we still don't have conclusive data to prove any of this. Do you think someone with a scientific mind like him could really believe in that?
I do. I think there are people currently right now. I would say people like Micah Hanks is a very it's a very respectable skeptic and a very skeptical I would say scientist, someone who has just really dove deep down, someone who has the knowledge, someone who has the background to support his ideas and beliefs in what's going on, as far as disclosure to the public and everything. And people like him believe there's definitely something here. There's definitely no doubt there's something here, and there is something not being told to the public.
So you think that's more of his stance then, that
I do.
when
And
his question is, if they're here, where's the evidence, that his statement in that question is more that he does think that there is something here, but that things are being hidden?
well, I couldn't speak for Fermi,
Sure.
because
I'm
I
just saying what
I
you think.
honestly don't know where he was coming from with that question. I think the question kind of came out of something very minute, or possibly even like very minuscule, but then kind of just evolved into like, well, wait a second.
Yeah.
Like, and then it did kind of become well, let's dive in. Let's go further. Let's see what's going on with this. So I don't know what he believed in. Do I
Sure.
believe he was capable of being open with, hey, yeah, I think there is something definitely going on? Yeah. Whether or not he would be willing to put his career on the line, though, to say that out loud, I don't know. I think once you're a scientist or someone who's respected in the arts of like, the scientific method, I don't think you saying you believe in aliens or Bigfoot is really going to help your case in any circumstance in the scientific community. So I think, yeah, you could probably think that all you want as far as like, yo, yeah, there's definitely more out there that we don't understand or that we can explain. But whether or not you're going to say that in public is a whole different
Yeah,
story.
yeah, of course,
So,
of course.
yeah, I'm not sure though.
No, that's
I'm
fair.
definitely
No,
not
that's-
sure.
that's
But
fair.
I mean, I guess going from there, my probably my favorite question that I really had found right here was, if the universe is in constant expansion, do you think we could just be in a completely different time and place? Like possibly maybe the right place but at the wrong time? Like maybe
Mm.
possibly an alien civilization getting to Earth just to see us completely
already
self-destruct,
destroyed, yeah.
and they're like, well, I guess it's time to leave. Because, like we have also talked about in the simulation theory and the Mandela effect and quite a bit of other episodes, even time travel, time is not real
It's true.
in that
I think
way.
it's fair to say that time is real. It's just not. It's like also saying,
The way we perceive time is not
yeah,
real.
that's
we
not
have
how it
created
works.
we
No,
have
yeah.
created how we perceive time, but like
Time passes, but time is just a construct we created to try and. It's like
Yeah.
the same. It's the same with trying to explain infinity. You can't truly explain infinity. There's no way to truly. You can say you understand it. The idea is there. Time. The idea of time is there, and it's more
yeah.
measurable than infinity. But you can't just be like, oh, this
I
is infinitely,
infinitely
infinitely.
Yeah.
Wow, I had a stroke there.
just a little bit.
Sorry, but
A
yeah,
little bit of lag.
to kind of go into my idea of this, I think it very well could be that we're in a different time or place, because, and the first thing I thought of hearing the question was actually Planet of the Apes, the original like 60s one,
Yeah.
because the whole concept was that these astronauts in the, present day went up into space to travel the stars and find another inhabitable planet. And then when they went down and landed on this planet, not at the time realizing it was still Earth, they just landed on some other foreign place that looked nothing like Earth, but then realized that later on that it was just Earth that had progressed hundreds or thousands of years later to the apes taking over. All that being said, the reason they didn't realize it was because time passed differently in space.
Yeah.
And they lasted not that long out there for them, but the people on Earth, they went for a long time, evolved, and things changed. And so if we're trying to talk about all this stuff about them having to travel light years to get to us potentially and stuff like that, I mean, it very well could be that we're just in the wrong time, right place, or what did you say?
Right place, wrong time.
Yeah. I completely could see that being a,
And then you have
a
to
valid
really
thing.
and then you have to really ask yourself the question then, what is the right place? Is Earth
true.
the place?
Yeah, are we the main characters?
Are we the main characters of this universe? I mean, it's a valid question. I mean,
based on our belief? I
Yeah.
would say so.
But-
Based on, scientific probability? It's kind of not fair to say that we're main characters, especially with the. It's the same problem with the paradox, is that the universe is expanding and
rapidly.
and so it's really hard to like groundly say that we are the most important or like the center of the universe when.
There used to be a time where scientists thought everything revolved around the Earth. You remember that?
Yeah.
Like people thought that like
Mhm.
just the sun and every planet just
Yeah, and that's the thing that's
Spun
so
around
crazy
Earth.
to think about is that scientific discoveries happen and change all the time over years. Like things we knew back then.
which leads you to believe what's real.
Yeah, exactly. Is it all a simulation? Is Jesus an alien? These
I don't
questions
know.
are the groundbreaking discoveries that we're going to hit on the Woodsman podcast.
Find out next week on the next episode of Dragon Ball Z.
No, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. Do you think we're also in the right place, wrong time, or are you
Oh, man.
against that?
I don't know. I mean, I would
Because I know you think of time as a circle.
I do. I do think of time. I do think of time as a circle, and I also think of time as happening all at the same time.
Sure. Yeah.
So, perchance, yeah. I believe that maybe some other civilization here on this earth that's not ours in time will, or quote unquote time, will possibly see or communicate with aliens if they are a physical race from another space, bars. But us, I don't know. At least if it's physical, I don't know. But at the same time, because we don't have all the information, aliens could very well just still be here. I mean, I heard one theory the other day that freaked me out because you never realize how true it is till you realize we're making movies and shows off of it. But could just be another scroll invasion, and you would never know.
Yeah,
you would like Joey. Think of Secret Invasion. Think of that show. Who would have known? Who in the world would have known that they were walking around with scrolls? Because I wouldn't have. There's no way.
I would not have known.
If it's something like that,
there's no way to tell. Yeah.
There's no way you would know.
There's no way.
And that's a whole other can of worms that I'm not willing to open up because that's terrifying.
That would take us a whole other episode.
It would. It would be a main episode at that point.
It would.
Yep.
Thank you guys so much for watching this episode. Please make sure to follow us on our social media. You can find us at Instagram on @WoodsmanPod, and you can also find us on TikTok @TheWoodsmanPod.
And you can also leave us questions, comments, concerns, possibly about our foul mouths or anything else we'd talk about at thewoodsmanpod@gmail.com. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow the Woodsman Podcast with video exclusively on YouTube and Patreon. Make sure to follow our personal accounts at Strange Kids and Piemaster J on all platforms.
The Woodsman Podcast is co-produced by Brent Murphy and Joey Rucker.
Engineered by Brent Murphy and edited by Joey Rucker.
Additional editing by Brent Murphy and blood, sweat, and tears by the both of us.
Any additional content by the Woodsman Podcast may not be used without our permission. Copyright the Woodsman Podcast. And remember, just because they aren't seen doesn't mean they aren't here.